So I thought we'd do a quick update on how I've been getting on with my spring TBR. Well, I have finished Riftborn, and then I have just finished book 2 in the series. It's gonna be a trilogy, and book 2 was Duskbound. I love this book so much. It was such a fun read. Like, I really enjoyed Riftborn, book 1. There was like so much going on, and the ending was like a huge cliffhanger. But then this book is like Riftborn, but blow it out the park. It was so good. Like, there's definitely romance in there. It's definitely a romantasy, but I would say the romance isn't like the main part. There's like so much going on with the plot. It was a really engaging story, and there was just so many plot twists throughout this entire thing, and I just had no idea like where it was gonna go, where it was gonna end, and it was just such a fun read. So I'm really sad now because I've got to wait for book 3, and this only just came out, so I'll be waiting a long time. And something that I find really interesting about this series is it's actually written by 2 female authors, which I've never read a book before which has been written by 2 authors. So love that for the girlies, because this is such a good book. And yeah, if you like fantasy, you should definitely read it. In regards to the rest of my spring TBR, I started reading Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. So I have currently DNF'd it, and I'm sorry if you love this book. I know loads of people love this book, but I think I'm just too used to like crazy fantasy stories and always being like high state. There just wasn't a lot going on in that book for me. So I might pick it up again via audiobook, because I listen to a lot of books whilst I'm driving to work and back. So that's a good way for me to kind of just get through one. But I don't know yet. I'm gonna see. Left on my TBR, because obviously I'm not going to be reading Map of the Other Lands, is Check and Mate, First Time Caller, and sorry, there was a fly, and Heavenly Bodies. So next I'm gonna take a little break from fantasy, and I'm either gonna read Check and Mate or First Time Caller. I don't know which one yet, so I will just decide that later on when I read them. But yeah, that's just my little update on my spring TBR currently. Our first reading journal spread today is going to be Riftborn, which, as I already mentioned, very much enjoyed. Now, the book cover is kind of green and white, so that's why I wanted to go for a green theme. I kind of just grabbed a bunch of stationery from my collection and didn't really have a particular plan, and I was just hoping that it would all kind of come together at the end. So I'll tell you a little bit about the book without obviously spoiling anything. I don't want to spoil anything for you guys, but I will tell you a bit about the plot so that you can understand what the book is like, and if maybe you want to give it a go. So our main character is Fia Riftborn, and she is essentially a Riftborn, which means they're kind of like branded and kind of like an outcast to society because of a whole bunch of stuff that happened in the past, which you do later find out about. And then she basically has a little event where she kind of makes some quite big mistakes in public, and one general from the guard, which is kind of like their army, their military or what have you, he witnesses her power and then decides that she basically has no choice but to join the guard, and then he personally trains her. So that's kind of where the story starts off and how it goes. By the end, there's other stuff going on, and the cliffhanger is very big at the end, and it was kind of like, whoa, but it was really fun to read. And yeah, I really enjoyed the whole like trainer kind of situation between the general and Fia. So you kind of watch their relationship grow, but that kind of, well, I can't really give anything away, but then it goes on to book 2, which is like completely different. So it makes you feel like the story is going a certain way, and then it just kind of like, there's a few plot twists and you're like, oh, okay, it's going a different way now. But yeah, it was a really, really fun read. I read this so quickly. I really enjoyed like the romantic-y side of it, but there is definitely like a lot of great plot. It's not, I wouldn't say the main focus is the romance, but there is definitely lots of, you know, slow burn in there. But that's kind of more like a side thing, because I just feel like the plot, I don't know, as you obviously see the story progress into the second book, it is just huge. Like, it's a way bigger story than you originally think when you're reading this book. But this book is still like such a fun read and really, really good. I decided to give it 4 stars only because Duskbound was like so much better. But even though, like, if I had just read Riftborn and not read Duskbound, I think I would have still given Riftborn 5 stars because I still had such a great time. But yeah, Duskbound was just, I didn't even know it could get better. But yeah, it was just like such a good book. So I really like this spread. I'm really happy with the green window. I think it looks really cute. I'm also going to link a bunch of stuff in the description because I have used a ton of supplies from Journal Say, like the white flowers, the ivy stickers, the collage stickers on the side, and obviously the big window. So I do have an affiliate code which I will link down below if you want to get 8% off for yourself. And I'm also using my green pen, which is matching very nicely with the spread. But yeah, for me, a fantasy girly, this was just a really refreshing, nice read. And it's such a good like setup for the second book as well. So yeah, if you haven't read it, you definitely should. And if you have read it, I would love to chat about it in the comments. But yeah, that is the first spread all finished. After lighting my very appropriate fantasy reader candle, which I made, if you want to see me make that as well, it's in my last like video. But yeah, I really wanted to make like a fantasy candle that I could have on when I was reading or doing my reading journal spreads. So yeah, it was fun to finally light it and get using it. Now our next book is the second book after The Crimson Moth. So this is The Rebel Witch by Kristen. I'm not going to pronounce the second name because it's very long and I will definitely ruin it. But also, why has this book got like so many different names? Whenever I'm searching it, I'm like, why does it have different names in America to here or in different places? I never really understand why that happens in the book world. So if anyone knows the answer to that, I would love to be educated on that. Now, this book, I was actually so excited to read it because I had such a fun time reading the first book. It's a young adult series. And I read the first one via audiobook. It was really nice, such a fun story. And the slow burn enemies to lovers kind of situation was really good. And I was very, very excited for book 2. It was kind of like an anticipated read for me for 2025. And I was a little bit concerned that basically the two characters would spend the entire second book apart, but it's actually the complete opposite. They were fully together for the entire story. But I don't know, it was a little bit disappointing for me. I didn't really get behind the characters too much, I think. I did in the first book, I really liked them then, but in the second one, I don't know, I feel like they were kind of annoying me a bit. And the romance was fine. It wasn't anything that was making me too excited about the enemies to lovers situation again, because they were fully back to enemies again. But I don't know, I just felt like the plot was really slow, and will they won't they situation, and them constantly trying to trick each other, but not necessarily in the most cleverest way. I don't know, it was a little bit disappointing for me. I did enjoy it, but I was kind of I really want to get to the end of this now so I can start something else. I feel like if you were huge fans of the first book or a huge fan of the characters, then it's definitely a great book for you, because I feel like it's more of a book for the fans more than anything, because you do get to experience the characters and them obviously communicating throughout the entire book very closely. So if I had gotten behind the characters a bit more in book 1, I think I would have been all over this, but I feel like there was just maybe a bit more plot needed for me. I don't know if that even makes any sense, but it does to me. But yeah, if you did enjoy it, then I can totally understand why, because it had a lot of things, and I think it was done well. It just, for me, in my opinion, I didn't love it. So yeah, it was my first maybe disappointing read of the year, because as well, obviously I was very excited for it, which maybe didn't help with the expectations and such, but I'm very happy with this spread. Very purple, it's giving the witch situation. Yeah, I'm really, really happy with this one. Okay, we are on to our next spread, which is Duskbound. Very excited to make this one. Again, I used the purple window stickers from Journal Say, and also used the purple floral stickers, which I essentially picked out basically to use in fantasy spreads, so it is very nice to finally be using them in fantasy spreads because they just fit so perfectly into all of my reading journal spreads, because obviously I'm reading a ton of fantasy all the time. It's going to be really difficult for me to try and explain Duskbound because I do not want to give any spoilers, and obviously, yeah, I don't really know how to explain it. I guess a clue is think Akatar, Tamlin Rhysand situation. I guess there's a similar kind of vibe with the love interests. Not the same, but there's stuff that goes on that's kind of similar. Well, it isn't really that similar, but that's the closest thing I can think of making you think about it without giving away too much. But yeah, in the second book, we basically have a ton of character development from Fia, our main character, because she has found out loads of very important things about herself and her kingdom, and she is kind of like navigating her way through that in a totally new place with totally new characters. So that's really fun to experience her kind of growing up in this new place, learning more about herself, and of course maybe bumping into a new love interest, who knows. But yeah, this book was so good. There's a ton of like just plot to get behind, and you definitely find out a lot about her past and just the entire world's past. There's a lot of lore going on, but it's not like really confusing, because sometimes in fantasy books I find like the history quite difficult to comprehend because there's always so many names and so many things going on. But yeah, I definitely knew what was going on here when they were trying to incorporate the past. And there is going to be a third book, which is a sweet while away, very sadly, but I have no idea like where it's gonna go. And I feel like Fia, the main character, is about to enter her like badass villain arc in book 3. That's kind of where I feel like it's gonna go, but other than that, I have no idea what is going to happen, because yeah, there's just so much going on. Guys, you just need to read it, okay? So for the spread, this book is more about like shadows, and there's lots of crystals in this book, hence why I used a lot of crystal stamps. And again, lots of purple because that kind of made me think of the book, even though I think the book cover is actually like black and grey. But yeah, this was wanted to create more of like a darker theme compared to the Riftborn, because the two books are set in completely different places, and I kind of wanted to reflect that in my reading journal. And I'm really happy with the little gold letter stickers. They look really cute for the title, and I think they stand out quite well against the background. So yeah, also if you don't want any spoilers, you should definitely not read the writing in my journal, because I can't guarantee that there won't be spoilers in there, so don't read that. I always try not to read when people like write in their reading journals for the exact same reason. So I also have another reading journal spread that I need to catch up on. This one is definitely more of like a dark aesthetic, dark gothic vibe, and it is following along in the series that I have read and updated my journal in my last reading journal update. So if you watch that, you might know what I'm talking about. But it is the Everseas series, and this is the third book, which is The Mist Thief. Although I think you can also read this as a standalone in the series. I don't know, I don't really get the whole like how all the books connect. Well, I do, because obviously I've read them, but I mean I don't know, there's more books in this series that I haven't read, which are, I guess, a bit of a prequel. But I started with The Ever King and The Ever Queen, and then I went on to The Mist Thief, which it does follow like chronologically, and it does make sense to read it in that order, but you don't have to. But yeah, I would recommend reading the whole series because it's really fun. This was definitely my favourite book in the series so far, which is The Mist Thief, and this one was definitely a romantasy. Like, the romance was high up there, and I would say definitely the main part of the story, whereas with the other two books there was a lot more plot and just general war and battles going on, whereas in this book it's a bit more chill in the sense of everything that's going on in the world, because obviously all the war has finished from the last two books, and we now get to just kind of chill for a bit and enjoy the characters and some politics and such. So we essentially follow Jonas, who, by the way, is such a fun character. He is like, if you've read Quicksilver, he reminds me of Carry On. He's very like cheeky chappy, great banter, full of himself, and he's a like redhead. But yeah, he's really great. I love him. And then he meets Skadi, which is his new wife, which is kind of like an arranged marriage that he makes the decision on because it's essentially to save their kingdom and such. And she's like from a different realm. And then, yeah, I guess it's just watching their relationship and how she's settling in to the new kingdom. But it is a really nice story, and they are just such lovely characters together. And they're going to carry on and follow two other characters in the next book. But yeah, there was definitely like some high stakes in this book, but definitely not as much as usual. It was just nice after reading the last two books, which were very like action packed, just to kind of focus on the romantasy a bit more. So yeah, this was a really fun read too, and you can definitely read it as a standalone as well if you didn't want to commit to the whole series. So if you have read any of these books, then of course please let me know in the comments, and let me know if you have enjoyed this video, because it is something a little bit different for me, but I had a lot of fun making it and making all these spreads. So I hope you have enjoyed sticking with me today, and if you have, make sure to subscribe, and hopefully I will see you guys in the next video.